Sweltering temperatures and storms stick around a little while longer when weekend rain gives us a break from the heat.
Finger pointing and misunderstandings. WRAL is learning more about what led to American Airlines passengers waiting on the RDU tarmac for hours. What caused the delays and what's being done to fix the problems.
And today's drought report was a mixed bag. Some improvement, but not a lot. Some cities are considering expanding their water restrictions. But will that be enough? Do the restrictions even work? Let's talk about it. Little bit of improvement when it comes to the drought. Travelers stuck on the tarmac at RDU. And what's up with the gas prices? Where are those headed? We're going to talk about all of it tonight. We want you to join in, as we always do here at 7 o'clock. This, of course, is your newscast. So please email us 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. Your phone's right in your hand. You might as well let us know what you're thinking. Tell us what is on your mind. First up tonight, all the rain the past few days really hasn't done enough. That we need more when it comes to the drought. Kat Campbell looking at where things stand.
You know, some places got a little better, like around the Triangle. We got out of the exceptional drought category here in Burgundy. That's the worst possible category that you can be in on the drought monitor, but there is still extreme drought for all of the Triangle. And we did see our eastern counties added to the extreme drought. So it all kind of evens out in the end there. Here are the spots that are slightly better on this week's drought monitor: Durham, Morrisville, Chapel Hill, Wake Forest, North Raleigh, and Franklinton. But things are a bit worse this week when you look at Rocky Mount, Wilson, Elm City, Halifax, as well as Newton Grove. One important thing to note about this week's drought monitor is the cutoff time for rainfall to be included in the update is 8 a.m. Tuesday morning. So, you know, there's still about 2 inches of rain that's left out of this update around RDU, and all the areas in blue over an inch of rain. So hopefully next week we see better improvements in the numbers. The heat index tomorrow, sizzling hot again. We're back between 100 and 105. There could be a heat advisory issued in a few spots in our area. Check in for that update on our morning newscast tomorrow. The dual Doppler 5000 radar, not so active today as expected, but that's going to change here soon. I'll let you know when our next front arrives coming up.
Sounds good, Kat. All right, let's get you caught up. These are the 5 things you should know right now. We'll start with this one. Police on the scene investigating some sort of safety threat, as it's being described, at Kenan Stadium on UNC's campus. Sky 5 over that scene showing several police cars. You can see from the video. The university, though, they won't really tell us exactly what is going on. The school's asking anyone in that area to stay away from the stadium, but we did see groups of people walking around. Didn't seem too tenuous at the moment, but we're going to continue to touch base with them. North Carolina, they joined almost every other state pushing the FCC to do more to stop robocalls. They're complaining about a loophole that's letting scammers use legitimate cell phone numbers. The Attorney General wants the agency to have strict rules for companies that buy and sell phone numbers. A parasite causing stomach issues across the state has now gotten more than 200 people sick. Those are the confirmed cases anyhow. The state shared new numbers with us today. The parasite is most commonly linked to fresh produce. Symptoms can last for weeks. Doctors recommend thoroughly cooking all food and washing all of your produce before you eat it. Wash it well. Go Carry is suspending one of its downtown bus routes because of a driver shortage. Most downtown bus routes will still be covered by other routes, but double check your routes next time you travel. The Canes now have their names etched on the Stanley Cup. There are 24 players on the cup, but 53 names total. There's some criticism directed at the Canes owner, and that's because all of his family members, his young children, everybody got their names on the cup. The owner, some owners in the past have done the same thing. We got a clear picture tonight of what happened at RDU. It left people stuck on the tarmac for hours. A bunch of people emailed in. They talked to us about this, very frustrated, not just by what happened, but kind of the response that they are getting. WRAL's Ali Kattlebar was there when passengers got off the plane after this delay on Tuesday morning. Tonight, those passengers tell her they're still waiting for answers.
American Airlines baggage claim looks a lot different now than what it did Tuesday morning. We saw rows and rows of unclaimed luggage, and passengers told me they were exhausted and frustrated. Now that frustration remains as they want to know how the airline will make up for this and do better. no end in sight. That's how passengers say they felt when they were stuck on the RDU taxiway for more than 3 hours.
It started creating some panic among the passengers.
RDU says lightning strikes delayed and backed up several flights Monday night. It says 9 American Airlines flights were held on the ground before parking at open gates. Passengers on those flights say they got a mixed bag of answers.
It became there's too many airplanes ahead of us waiting to deboard.
American Airlines responded to WRAL Wednesday saying in a statement, quote, severe weather in Raleigh-Durham RDU on Monday impacted operations and led to multiple ramp closures. As a result, some aircraft remained on the tarmac longer than usual until conditions were safe, end quote. RDU tells WRAL it did not close ramps or other areas that would prevent planes from going to open gates. It said airlines have different safety protocols that may not allow employees to go on the ramp and guide planes in. This email sent from American Airlines to Corey Schnupper, a passenger on a flight from Philadelphia to RDU, says the reason was air traffic control restrictions affected gate availability and prevented deplaning. One issue and 3 different answers. She wants clarity.
It's just concerning. It seems like they're just hiding something / not really caring about the severity of how this impacted people.
She filed a complaint with the airline and got a $50 voucher. One passenger said they received 15,000 airline miles without filing a complaint. Others say they didn't get any compensation at all.
Have you gotten any further communication from American Airlines for any kind of refunding or that kind of thing?
I have not, so I need to look into that.
We have reached back out to American Airlines for more information. When we hear back, we'll let you know. Reporting at RDU, Allie Kadlabar, WRAL News.
All right, thank you to Allie. Now, holding these airlines accountable, of course, is important. People spend a lot of money to fly from place to place, but let's face it, even on a good day, flying is a bit of a headache. Nobody goes to the airport expecting a chill experience. So maybe you're avoiding planes altogether and you're hitting the road instead, which brings us to a good question from the 7 p.m. inbox. Lots of you emailing us about gas prices. Paul saying current prices for crude oil hover around $70 to $72, which is similar to the prices we saw before the war with Iran. At that time, gas in our area was priced around $2.79 per gallon. Why have prices for gas not come down to that level? So we appreciate the question from Paul. It's a good one, and I know a lot of people are kind of wondering the same. But first, let's just compare the price. We'll start there. Not sure where Paul lives. Let's look at Raleigh. In February, before the war, the average price for a gallon of gas was $2.91. Now it's $3.57. So that's a big difference, despite, again, as he said, oil prices being more or less the same right now. But there are a bunch of reasons why prices aren't as low as they were back in February before the war. First, gas prices are determined by a lot of things. It's not just the cost of crude oil. That's a big one, but it's not the only thing. According to Energy Information Administration, about 50% of what you pay at the pump is directly tied to oil prices. The rest has to do with things like taxes, margins for gasoline producers, and the time of year. In fact, the time of year has a lot to do with how much you pay for gas. In the summer, gas is more expensive to make. Because it is so hot, gas is more likely to evaporate from your car. There are some environmental concerns because of that fact, and gasoline companies are required to make a different blend of gas for the summer months. And that blend is more expensive to produce, and those costs get passed down to us, the drivers, the consumers. The summer is also just busier. A lot more people are traveling. It's the travel season. More people are hitting the road, filling up along the way. Higher demand, that means higher cost. Thanks again to Paul for asking this question. You can ask us anything. Send us an email, 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. We'll find you an answer, or at least look hard for it, and we'll get back to you right here at 7 o'clock. The whole point of the water restrictions that we have seen have been for people to cut back on the amount of water that they use to buy us some time during the drought. But that is not working because people aren't listening. We've been here before. We've seen what the consequences can be, and we're going to talk about what could be coming if people don't start using less. Plus, tonight at 11, there is a new Wake County program meant to make your neighborhood safer. The new way people can help speed up investigations. Welcome back, and we take you right to another episode of Drought Daily, where we answer your questions about the drought. Dwight sent us an email saying, remind Raleigh officials that with people cutting back on water use, it means less money coming in for them. Don't up the water rates because you ask people to cut back. Oh, good point. Dwight's out here playing chess. He's thinking ahead. Now, if we all use less water, that means less money coming in for the water bills. The city's making less. Are they going to need to raise the rates to make up the difference for what you do use? It's a good question. The fact is, though, they don't have to worry about that right now because that's not what's happening. We aren't saving water at all. In fact, the city of Raleigh says everyone is actually using more water right now than we were last year at this time when there were no restrictions in place, when there was no drought. And that's why the city is getting ready to ramp up enforcement. WRAL's Bailey Stamos has the story.
Hundreds of warnings or citations have been issued since water restrictions went into effect months ago, many of those coming from residential areas like these. That's why officials say stage 1 might not be cutting it. In Raleigh's Oakwood neighborhood, keeping a yard alive during dry conditions can take work.
Take me 35 bags of mulch, and I'll do it myself. I usually carry them over in 8 to 10 bag rounds.
But for some residents, that work does not mean turning on the sprinklers.
Because I think water is critical to all of us, of course.
That mindset is exactly what Raleigh Water says it needs more of right now. The city is under stage 1 water restrictions, meaning spray irrigation is only allowed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But Raleigh Water says many customers are still watering when they shouldn't be.
And we can get real-time data so we know when they're being used. And based on that analysis, 43% of them during that week were not compliant. And then the following week, 46% were not compliant.
Raleigh Water says it has reported 860 total violations. That includes 336 education letters, 173 official warnings, 6 $50 penalties, and 1 $200 civil penalty. Officials say hundreds of field crews are monitoring for violations each day. On Tuesday, Raleigh City Council gave Raleigh Water more flexibility to move into stage 2 restrictions if needed, now leaving that decision in the hands of the city manager's office.
So I am more than willing to give the city manager the ability to designate a stage 2.
We reached out to the city manager's office to ask if stage 2 restrictions could be expected soon. We have not heard back. Bailey Stamos, WRAL News in Raleigh.
All right, we'll see. Thank you to Bailey. Now back to Dwight's email. Let's talk about that for a moment because he says, again, don't up the water rates just because you ask people to cut back. This is a valid concern. He remembers this happening because last time this is what they did. Raleigh had a terrible drought. Water rates did, in fact, go up. Many of you remember this. 2007, 2008 was one of the worst droughts that North Carolina had ever seen. And at the time, the city of Raleigh raised the water rates and did a whole bunch of other stuff, too. In Raleigh, you were only allowed to use 25 gallons of water per day. That is not as much as you think. In Cary, they wanted people to rip up their grass and replace it with drought-resistant grass that needed less water. State lawmakers passed a rule putting all of North Carolina under water restrictions, even people on well water. Raleigh's mayor, Charles Meeker, you may remember him, he had an even bigger idea. He wanted people to use rain barrels and low-flow shower heads. What are the chances that we bring those types of restrictions back? Who knows? Sure hope not. What we do know is that before this week, Raleigh had set rules for increasing restrictions. The city couldn't put in harsher rules until our water levels would drop to a certain point. But because people are not conserving water, in fact, again, we're using more right now than we were this year or last year around this time, those rules are gone. They're not even paying attention to those water levels in the same way. It means the city can put in those stricter rules faster if they want to. Just something to consider. So please, keep sending in your drought questions and keep paying attention to this. I just wonder how many people are paying attention to the restrictions actually going into place. So let us know your comments and your concerns. Send us an email, 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. And this has been another installment of Drought Daily as we send things over to Kat Campbell with a little rain in the forecast, but again, not nearly as much as we would need to get out of this thing.
It's hard to get out of a drought during the summer months because when we talk rain chances, it's pretty much always going to be scattered summertime rain chances. So some areas get hit with 2-inch rain totals while neighboring communities see nothing. The maps are just very spotty because of it. And we're going to have more of that action this weekend. About half of our viewing area will see storms Saturday, maybe a little over half on Sunday. But look at the temperature difference this weekend. 92 Saturday. It's hot. It's humid. The heat index near 100. Sunday, though, trending a little less hot, still humid Sunday, but that could actually change a little bit early next week. I want to be very clear here. I am not talking about a crisp fall feel by any means. It is going to feel like summer for the foreseeable future, but the humidity may actually drop a little bit thanks to this front that brings the rain chances over the weekend. As that front continues to drop south, high pressure builds in, and that could lead to a brief and small dip in humidity and temperatures as well. 86 Sunday, 87 Monday, and 89 Tuesday. 3 days in a row in the 80s sounds pretty good after we spent 3 days in a row in the triple digits. The dual Doppler 5000 radar not showing much action now, just a little bit of rain up in Mecklenburg County, Virginia. Let's do a little bit of math on the drought here. We still need about 14 inches of rain to end the drought in 1 month here in Wake County. Here's how this works out. We needed 18.5 inches of rain at the beginning of July to end the drought by the end of the month. We have already seen over 4 inches of rain this month. 4.31 inches of rain is huge. That is a wonderful number for RDU. However, when you're looking at such a huge number as 18 inches, we still need over a foot of rain. So it's small baby steps, and we're likely to continue to hopefully see those baby steps forward instead of backwards. A live look at Carolina Beach, looking pretty good out there today. I do want to let folks know that are headed to the beach this weekend, there is a moderate to high risk of rip currents for the entire North Carolina coast. If the red flags are flying at the lifeguard stands, please stay out of the water. I know it's hard to do. It's going to be a very hot weekend, but I would stay, below knee height. These rip currents can be dangerous. There are days during the summer months when we get the report in just from one county of beaches of more than 50 people rescued. So take those risks seriously. It is a little concerning of a look heading into the weekend, and we could see it just by looking at the waves on the Carolina Beach camera today. 96 tomorrow. Once we get through that, won't be so bad heat-wise. Scattered storms this weekend. Hopefully we pick up some good rain because rain chances are lower next week. A little lower in the temperature department, but they're going to go right back up. Dan.
All right. Thank you, Kat. One last thing coming up, a cross-country ride from a local teacher, all to raise money for cancer. We're going to share his story and the story of the young girl who inspired the cause. Next. One last thing, a group from Chapel Hill is riding 3,500 miles cross-country on their bikes, all to raise money for teens and young adults battling cancer. We spoke with one of them, a teacher riding for this special cause.
20,000 miles covered, tens of thousands of calories burned, countless aches and pains along the way.
I never thought I could possibly complete this journey.
TJ Lockery says it's all worth it.
We can make a difference for people by raising these funds.
He's a teacher from Chapel Hill, and he's one of 4 people traveling from San Francisco to Tybee Island, Georgia, riding for the Be Loud Sophie Foundation, raising money for teenagers battling cancer.
After Sophie died, our family really needed a way forward.
Lucy Steiner lost her daughter Sophie to cancer in 2013.
And she was a really quirky, funny, unique kid who had a lot to say and had a lot of opinions about things.
Her family's experience opened their eyes. They noticed the hospital had lots of resources and programming for young children, but there was a gap with teenagers. So they started a foundation to raise money for UNC hospitals so they can develop programs specifically for teens and young adults.
Over the years, that program has grown to be one of the largest in the United States at this point.
11 people are now on that team, and the program is spreading to other UNC hospitals around North Carolina.
Well, it's overwhelming to think of the impact that Sophie's life has had on the world.
That's what inspires Lockery and the rest of his group, from biking across the desert in Nevada to pedaling up a mountain in Colorado.
I feel people back home and people that might not be with us anymore have our backs and are kind of looking out over those mountains at us.
Ashley Rowe reporting there. The Be Loud Sophie Foundation is named for Sophie, of course, but it's also named after a poem she wrote. Here's a quick excerpt we want to read straight from her blog. It says, "Be loud and move with grace, explode with light, have no fear." Sophie's words. Some quick feedback from some of you at home watching tonight. First from Chris. He emailed asking about the drought. Just wondering if there is any talk about any type of new water source other than the two primary lakes that we have. Seems like with all the new people moving into town, we're going to have to get some type of water resource in development. So yeah, it's a great thought. Wake County leaders are thinking the same thing. They're planning a new reservoir, but getting one built takes a really long time, like decades. Wake County says currently there isn't a timeline for when it could be ready, but it's something they're doing. More feedback, and this one's coming from Bernie, and he said the reason we are using more water now than this time last year would seem to be caused by population growth. And it's a fair point. It's certainly not something that doesn't matter. We are seeing the population grow from year to year. But the bottom line is they can get a little bit more specific than that. They can go in and look at individual meters from neighborhoods that have been there for a long time. They can look at all of this stuff and they can tell that people are either not cutting back at all or actually using more water. And one of the reasons people are using more water is pretty clear, because what happens during a drought? Well, you need to water your plants more. You need to water your lawn more. And if there are folks who are just getting their little siloed news from TikTok or their Instagram reel, maybe they are not getting the messages that are being sent out by the government officials and by the people on the news to let people know that this is something that they really need to cut back on, because water is not something we can take for granted. 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. Keep those emails coming. Let us know what is on your mind. We'll talk about it right here at 7 o'clock. Have a good one.